You're listening to the Fezcast, the Saracens fans podcast, bringing you the independent and unhinged views of the voices in our heads, as well as those of our special guests. To get in touch with us, find the Fezcast on social media and listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube and more. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy this week's show.
You're listening to the Fezcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of the Fezcast, and joining me tonight is Duncan with a plaster on his forehead. We won't ask why, but I mean it might have been an upset Quins fan on Sunday, or I don't know, or
it was a Glasgow kiss because they kept on taking the mickey out of us.
And they earned the right to do that, didn't they? And also joining us is John as well. Welcome back, John. You haven't been on for a couple of weeks, but I mean, how you been keeping, mate?
Yeah, I've been keeping well. Just kind of very busy. Time pressures and all that, but I've got to find time for the Fezcast.
Oh, absolutely. Well, yeah. I mean, I suppose it's good and bad, isn't it, really, this weekend? I mean, it's a double-header against Quins. We get a cup final, a bit of silverware, which makes us go, woo! And then we go down to the Stoop and, plenty to discuss there. And we'll do the men's game last. But before we talk about picking up the silverware, just wanted to mention some news coming out of the women's camp today. Obviously, Bryony Cleale's announcement before the final that she was retiring from the game. But we're going to lose a couple of Canadians who are moving on. And I think when we were talking about the Women's World Cup and the players that were coming back from international duty and the headache that Alex Osterbury was going to have about integrating players, who's he going to drop, who's he going to be upsetting, well, Maya Montiel and Fantasy Bermudas are moving on. And I mean, they're obviously in positions where we've got lots and lots of strength, Duncan. But, you know, they were really good players for us. They've done some really good work, haven't they? You know, then went away with Canada, have come back, maybe surplus to requirements in a big squad with the players that are coming back. But we have to say thank you to them for their service and what they've done for Saracens in the time they've been with us.
Definitely. I mean, the thing about the women's game is there is a really very small pool of players, and anybody who is not going to get lots of games at their own club is always going to be open to moving around. And those two girls deserve to play. And so it's, as you say, you know, especially with the success of our cup team, going to be a lot of competition for places, and it's no surprise that they want to get some more game time.
Fantastic name, though, isn't it? Fantasy Bermudas.
The best.
We will miss that name, won't we, John? I mean,
yeah.
It does remind me of tour concert parties years ago. I think I might be called Fantasy Bermudas in one of them, actually. But I mean, but yeah, you know, it's always sad to see players move on and everything like that. But, you know, that's the nature of the game, isn't it?
They've both been snapped up, haven't they? One's going to Loughborough.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, they're great players. And, you know, it's another thing about the women's game, isn't it? I mean, as say Duncan says, there is a small pool of players, there's a small pool of teams, there's a small pool of games to play. Teams like Loughborough, if they got players of this quality coming to them that have had experience at the higher end of the leagues, that's only going to strengthen the league as these better players come in around their existing squad structures, isn't it?
Yeah, especially Canadians, they're all over. I mean, the big issue for Fancy Bermudas, and we'll probably talk about her a bit later, is Deborah Wills, is it? We've got newly returned on the wing. Looks really strong, especially in her position. It's going to be big competition.
It is indeed. Now, the other player, obviously, who has finished playing now, not moving on anywhere else, has decided after 20-odd seasons of playing a game, girl and woman, the brilliant Bryony Cleale is hanging up her boots and is decided to retire. And what a fitting way to go out, John, with a final, with a trophy, with a medal, and being lifted up, despite Rocky Clark saying there was no forklift in the vicinity, which I'm sure Bryony will have words with Rocky about, but I mean, a bit of banter there for the girls. But yeah, I mean, she's been a great player over the years, not only for us, but Wasps and Quins. A handful of England caps, perhaps slightly in the shadow of her sister, which, you know, for those of us who've got siblings who do well, you know, sometimes that's a little bit difficult, isn't it? But Bryony's always played with a smile on her face and with great determination in her heart, hasn't she?
She has. I mean, a great servant for the three clubs. And thankfully, Saracens were one of those, but a great servant for England as well. She always gives 110%. And I did hear about that comment about the forklift truck, and good luck to Rocky. Yeah.
It was really quite emotional down at StoneX. I mean, she came on for a short bit of the time, but she very much had her fan club there. And I don't know, it was a bit of a heart tugger when, at the end, when all the hoo-ha was going on about her retirement.
I think that's the other thing as well. I remember when we played Exeter Chiefs at Worcester Warriors grounds a few years back. Well, the last time we won the PWR main competition and beat Exeter Chiefs, and Bryony was there in the stands, as you'd expect, supporting her sister and her friends at Saracens. And I think she actually had a pair of Saracens shorts on and everything, even though she was at Quins at that time. Clearly someone who understands the whole ethos of the game of rugby.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, totally committed. And as you say, if she isn't playing, she's there supporting, and hopefully we're not going to lose her to the game.
No, I suppose that's the next thing to say, isn't it? And it's something that I've been very keen to talk about, especially in relation to the Rugby World Cup that's just been had, that the next generation of coaches that come through need to be female coaches in the female game.
Yes.
And potentially in the men's game. I mean, why shouldn't female coaches move into the men's game if they're talented enough? We've seen the girl who's now the former Chelsea manager, Emma, I can't remember her surname now, who's gone to America, been very vocal about why can't women coach men and why can't they? And but Bryony, she's obviously an intelligent rugby player. We know that. She's going to have some real big skill sets across the entire of the pack because she can play front row, second row, and back row. Saracens really, you would hope, would be tapping into that and suggesting that maybe she does come on board to be able to bring through and to learn her trade under the likes of Alec Hosterbury before we see the predominance of women coaches coaching the women's game.
I certainly hope so. Yeah.
Does she want to, though? I mean, that's the question. Unlike the men, they won't retire with a bit of a pension pot coming in a few years later because it's a competitive area, coaching, isn't it? There's a very limited number of jobs. But if she wants to, I hope she goes for it, and I hope she's given all the help.
Let's move on, though, to the actual game on Saturday. I watched it on the YouTube, which was really interesting, as I say, with Rocky Clark doing the commentary. I thought the commentary was excellent. The game was pretty damn good, wasn't it? I mean, what was the score in the end? About 712 to 630, wasn't it? I mean, it was very much, seemingly there was elements of the game where defence was possibly turned off and, everybody wanted to play a bit of Joia rugby, Duncan.
Right up to about minute 50, 55, that was definitely the game. Whenever either side got in the red zone, they scored. And it was nip and tuck, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Very, very even. And the question I have in my mind is, especially when they got the ball to their number 11 in the second half, she was nearly unstoppable. They were falling off her, like flies off a dustbin. But what turned it, and I don't know to what extent Quins had done this, and you could argue, is it in the spirit of the final, was when May Campbell and Georgia Evans came on, because they really gave us an impetus and a new lease of life. There was especially one break where May Campbell made a brilliant break and then Georgia Evans made another. And it was from that point on that we solidified that defence was better, and only at that point did we pull ahead.
If you look at the Quins side, I mean, they didn't go in with a bunch of kids. I mean, they had Connie Powell playing at hooker. At England International, probably could have easily gone to the World Cup instead of May Campbell, certainly with the experience she had. We've had Poppy Cleal and other players playing throughout this tournament. May hadn't played a great deal of rugby in the Rugby World Cup. I think she had about 20 minutes, didn't she? I mean, it wasn't a great deal of rugby she played. Georgia had a very disappointing World Cup, although she played every game for Wales. But, I mean, she only played the 3 group stages. And this is a build-up to the start of the competition proper, as it were, or the main competition, shall we say. So I don't think it's totally against the spirit to bring these players in. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Duncan. When they did come on, they made a huge difference. And that possibly did win the game for them. But I don't think it took away. John, you might disagree, you might agree, but I don't think it necessarily took too much away from the ethos of the game. And certainly when we talk about the men at Quins, when we talk about having them rusty coming into the competition proper, I think it's important that some of these players are integrated back in.
In terms of internationals, we did do it in a limited way, of course. And as you say, Georgia Evans had been out of the World Cup quite early. May Campbell hadn't paid much. And in the crowd, you had the likes of Amy Cockayne and Rosie Gallagher and a whole host of others who didn't come in. So I think we were just on the right side. But those two made a huge difference.
They did indeed. I did want to mention, you've mentioned her name as well. And I mean, Deborah Wills has come back in. She's 34 years old, so she's not the youth. She's gone away. She's had a kid. She's come back, and I mean, she's dynamite, isn't she?
Powerful.
Oh, it's like watching Jonah Lumu back in the day, running over people. I mean, she has a Maori sidestep, and I mean, I don't know whether she's got any Maori in her or anything like that, somewhere along the line. But I mean, that is definitely the case of why go for a gap? Why do a step when I could just run over people?
She's like the modern equivalent of wingers. Normally a few years ago would have been a lock. She's tall for a woman rugby player, and that power really shows. She looks really dangerous every time she gets the ball.
Who else stood out, Duncan? I mean, I saw that Sydney was playing. She had a really good game, I thought.
Tori Sellers lasted the whole game. I'm sure that Eloiras not playing was not, quite clearly was not through loss of form. So whatever is going on there, I hope she comes back soon from it. But it forced Tori to play the whole game.
I've seen today that Ella's had an operation on both of her knees.
Oh, wow.
And will be out until next year at the very least. So we send our best wishes to Ella. Obviously, there's something gone on there that she needed some work on and everything like that. So she's taken that step out, which does cause a question of what do we do at scrum half now? Leanne Infante, have you had your maternity leave?
Apparently, Amy McDougall covers scrum half, and she's another one who had her usual, whether it was kicking or even trying to make a break, and her distribution was first class.
Yeah, her kicking from the tee was absolutely outstanding, wasn't it? I think she only missed the one kick, and they weren't particularly easy kicks, and we know what it's like at the StoneX, John, and particularly if it's getting a bit windy. That's not the easiest place to kick from the tee, is it? So if she's got a 90% success rate, she's done very well.
Actually, there was not a single breath of wind there, which is amazing in the East Stand where everybody is. You get a sunny day like that, even in October, with not a breath of wind, and everybody's down to their underpants.
There you go. That's
I'm glad that they can go.
That's a picture I didn't necessarily need in my mind there, but there we go. But yeah, at the end of the day, John, it's a trophy in a cabinet, is it? It's the same one we had 2 years ago. It wasn't competed for last season. We've got our name on it. We've kept that trophy. It's all good, isn't it? Because next up, week and a bit's time, we've got Gloucester Hartpury down in Tractor Country. It's good that these players have been blooded with some internationals coming back in. It's good that we've got that confidence going into that big game to start the season proper, as it were.
I think it does, and I to use an old adage, kind of success breeds success. And they know what it feels like to win something, and they'll enjoy that feeling.
Indeed, they will.
And kick on and carry on from there.
What we do know is that Matt had a quick chat with Joia Bennett after the game. So shall we have play that one in, and then we'll come back after that and see what Joia had to say. I think probably there was a little bit of sinking in that they won a trophy for a young player in this conversation, but Matt got 2 minutes with her. We'll listen to that, and then we'll come back and we'll discuss the bad of the weekend, shall we?
You're listening to the Fezcast.
Hi, Alex Osterberry here, Director of Rugby for Saracens Women. You're listening to the Saracens Fezcast.
This is the Fezcast.
Post-match at the PWR Cup final, Saracens retaining the trophy, which apparently is broken already. And delighted to say that Joia Bennett is here with us. Joia, how are you doing? You okay?
Good, thank you.
Excellent. That is your second cup win with Saracens, correct?
Yeah.
How did this one compare to the last cup? Having won one already, does this feel just an additional trophy in the corner for you, or does this beating Harlequins in final, does that feel any better at all?
Yeah, it's definitely great. Definitely a bit of a different vibe to last year. few new people in, but I always had like confidence in our team and trust that they'd do good, back me up, I'd back them up. And
Absolutely. And did you sort of take, having won one final already, that did give you sort of confidence coming into this one that, you know your game, you know how to play, you know how to win as well?
Yeah, definitely, especially trusting the people around me, coaches and staff and everybody. But I knew everyone would have my back and help me do well. So, yeah.
I mean, on to the game itself, it was end to end. It was no team really got away with, but it seemed to be pretty physical at the breakdown.
I mean, nothing that I wouldn't expect. I mean, I'd expect them to come hard, expect them to be competitive, but, we were prepared for that. We've been challenging ourselves with each other in training, so nothing we weren't expecting, I don't think.
Absolutely. And the cup run for you as a whole, have you enjoyed the last few weeks? Obviously, you're getting an awful lot of game time now as well, which is good. But has it been a good sort of 6 weeks or so with the team?
Yeah, definitely. I've learnt a lot, and playing alongside the girls, as I've said before, great experience.
Yeah.
I think probably to develop as much as I can as a player, whether that be through minutes, being more in the team and helping people out where I can, getting advice from other people, just improving my game all round. And then equally, that will just help everyone else out on the team and being a good team player.
So what's coming? I mean, it was your 21st birthday last week, is that right? So pretty decent present to have, a medal and a trophy.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, look, enjoy the rest of the season. Hopefully we'll speak to you again soon, but congratulations on a fantastic cup win.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Joia. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're listening to the Fezcast.
Hello, this is Akina Gondwe of Saracens Women, and you're listening to the Fezcast, and we are both proudly sponsored by the Saracens Supporters Association. For a £10 annual subscription to the SSA, you'll get the chance to buy tickets for away matches, receive a regular newsletter, and an exclusive SSA badge. They also arrange pre-match gatherings and player-coach events. As well as sponsoring both me and the Fezcast, they also sponsor Louis Johnson from the men's team and the Saracens Foundation Track Club. Not bad for £10. You can join up at membermojo.co.uk/SSA. Enjoy the rest of this edition of the Fezcast, and I look forward to seeing you at StoneX. Come on, you Sarries.
This is the Fezcast.
Well, welcome back. And well done, Matt, getting an interview with a player who probably wanted to be elsewhere, enjoying themselves, enjoying the celebration, cracking into a couple of Wolfpack lagers or something, Duncan. But that was good to hear from Joia, wasn't it?
Yeah, and good to hear that she really enjoyed the win, as she should have done. I mean, she's still a very young player. It's going to be interesting to see whether she gets in when the internationals come back. Obviously, especially if Sophie de Goede is available, there's going to be a lot of competition everywhere. And I hope she does get a few games because she's a really up-and-coming player who deserves it.
Well, I think that's the important thing to say there, isn't it? That when you've got these young and up-and-coming players, you've got their position in the team, they've worked really hard. We now see exactly how good they are, because if you have got the likes of Sophie de Goede coming back, and no disrespect to Joia or any of the other younger players, if you've got Sophie de Goede, if you've got Jess Breach, if you've got Zoe Harrison coming back, they're World Cup winners, they're World Cup finalists, they're World Player of the Year. You expect them to come in, and nobody would blame Alex Osterbury if he puts them straight back in the team. But it's how these players now react. And it'll be a sign of them as not only as players, but people, how they react to those players coming back and whether they can keep hold of their place or really push those players coming back to be even better because they know what's good behind them.
The women's squads are considerably smaller, aren't they, than the men's squads? But it's okay to have that success and have all of those internationals coming back. But at the same time, you still have to bring these young players through. And the young players have had the opportunity in the recent cup win. Again, it's up to Alex how he balances the side. He'll be good at that, giving those youngsters the opportunity to come through and not just saying, thank you very much, see you in 2 months' time. And I don't think it's that sort of person, but I think it's important to kind of keep a balance in the side, continue to give those youngsters the opportunities.
And we look forward to that. And I'm sure next week, when I'm not here, because I'll be having my feet up after running my marathon next weekend, and whoever's on the Fezcast will be discussing that. I'm looking forward to that game at Gloucester Hartbury. And we've got to look back, though, And this is the case, John, where I think you need to put your yellow shirt on, get your whistle out and ready to go, because me and Duncan might have a couple of disagreements coming up. We've already had this discussion off there, so perhaps we've got most of the confliction out of it. But, I mean, well, fair dues. I mean, Gaza and Israel and everyone sort themselves out today, or so it appears, so I'm sure that we can as well, Duncan. But, yeah, Quins away on Sunday. It was a bit of a coming down to earth with a bit of a bump, wasn't it, Duncan? Let's be honest about it at that. I mean, 2 games in, last week we were saying on top of the world, on top of the league, blah. Maybe we got a little bit complacent. Maybe we got a little bit too arrogant ourselves. But Quins looks at us coming across London into Surrey. They're not London, they're Surrey.
I was itching to win because we could have then had North London 2, almost London 0.
Yeah. Actually, this is the quick problem with Quins, isn't it? This is what I used to say about Scotland in particular playing England in the Six Nations. And it was what happens with Wales against England in the Six Nations now. Is the one game they can get up for is Saracens. Quins could play the way they did with that game plan they did against us. In every game they played, they'd be top 4 contenders every year. The fact of the matter is, the only game they seem to be able to get up for is Saracens. And I think that thumping we gave them 2 years ago at Spurs has really galvanised that. And I think probably the rebranding and everything that we're talking about, the original club in North London and everything, has pissed a couple of people off down in TW1. And, this is the game they want to win. And fair dues to Quins. Before we talk about any of the other influences upon the game, Quins came out with a game plan. I think they got slightly lucky. I'm not going to say completely lucky. Duncan, I watched on the television. Duncan, you saw a slightly different viewpoint of it live, albeit from the hospitality. So, I mean, I don't know how many pints of flowers you'd had or whatever. But Saracens started the game and Quins on the coach. They were still on the coach for 5-10 minutes and Quins took full advantage of that. From that moment on, we were playing catch-up. And although our plan A was about 1 millimetre, 2 millimetres, a couple of loose passes, a couple of drop balls from working. It wasn't working. We didn't change, and Quins exploited that, didn't they, Duncan?
It's interesting what you say about us still being on the coach, because as we arrived at the ground, the Saracens coach pulled up, and we saw the players get off the coach with an entourage around, giving them a good cheer. But they seemed, I don't know, body language seemed a bit sheepish. I don't know whether I'm imagining that, but I mean, you're absolutely right in so many ways. We had said with the first 2 games, did we really learn a lot? I mean, especially Newcastle, they're not that good as they're proving the rest of the season. Bristol had a lot of injuries. But the one thing that we had was the old Saracens attitude right from the off. When we saw it against Bristol, we were right up in their faces. Our defence was so on it. And in this game on Sunday, it was Quins who were like that. From the off, they were right in our faces. They were very physical. They were pressurising us. And we didn't seem to be really very good at coping with it. We did manage to score a couple of great tries, but especially in the first half, we didn't get anywhere near their end.
No, that's true.
We were pushed back and pushed back.
That's true. Now, I mean, okay, I'm going to look for the silver lining on the clouds. And I will say that for all of the territory, all of the possession, everything that Quins did really, really well. And they did do an awful lot of things well. Although, and I will say, Marcus Smith, he controlled the game, but I do think he got a bit lucky. But it's like Napoleon's generals, isn't it? When Napoleon was asked, well, what is it like to have brilliant generals? He said, no, I haven't got brilliant generals. I've got lucky generals. And Marcus Smith got a bit of luck in so much as you had Max Malins had a real off day. I mean, poor Max, he couldn't have caught a cold in an epidemic, could he, on the weekends? He exploited that and rode his luck very, very well. And why wouldn't you? I mean, this isn't a criticism of him at all. He was able to do it. But at the end of the day, we got a losing bonus point out of a game where we probably had 20%, if that, effective possession and territory in the whole game, John.
We can pick into particular points like the ball spent most of the time in the air and and we couldn't catch anything and kind of rubbish at the breakdown, giving too many penalties away. It was an intense game. Our defence certainly got work out. That's for sure. And we walked away with a point there. It's never good to lose at Quins, but I don't feel like I could tear the team apart. I could pick out certain points, but we've got a good team. They're doing okay at the moment. But Quins had a plan and they stuck to it, and we couldn't catch.
I totally agree that getting a losing bonus point out of that game was a big plus, because last season we would have fallen away. There's no two ways about it.
Well, the game at Tottenham last year is the prime example of it against Quins, where Quins came out with basically the same game plan at Tottenham as they had this time. And actually, we coped with it a lot better than what we did at that game in last season. So the consistency, and this is the buzzword that's been going around the club, and when I spoke to Mark McCall, he was talking about it, wasn't he? And other players had talked about it, of having that consistency. And it wasn't so far off. The problem I think we had more than anything else was that plan A, which was basically to try and batter Tom Willis up the middle, which 9 games out of 10 he will do. Quins identified that as our weapon and did very, very well in stopping that weapon at source. The amount of times you will see Tom Willis put back on the gain line, you could count on the fingers of one hand. Well, he managed to get 3, if not 4 of those in this one game that he will have for the whole of his season. And that happens sometimes. The problem is, did we actually sit there and say, and I think we almost did, because the try that Fergus Burke scored was from us doing something completely different, actually taking it away from the middle. Owen Farrell's lovely little pass behind to Sinti coming on at pace to Fergus Burke was exceptionally good.
They had 3 or 4 people on Tom Willis the minute he got the ball, the whole game. They'd worked it out. You're absolutely right.
And what we didn't do was we didn't identify that and decide to do something different.
Not often, no.
Or not often enough. And when we did do it, we got 2 good tries from it, and that Fergus Burke is another contender for try this season.
Yeah, no, it is. As you know, I've got a slightly different view of Marcus Smith, because from the angle I was watching it at, there were many of his kicks which were fantastically judged. They weren't lucky because they were just the right distance, that as our player was standing underneath it, trying to catch it, he could see a swarm of Quins players coming at him. Some of the longer ones he did that seemed both Owen Farrell and Max Malin's horrific drops were coming out the sun.
Yeah.
So I actually thought his game management was superb.
I don't disagree. And I think, for him to get man of the match, he got a try. When we talk about 95% of the game, our defence was pretty damn solid. That one moment was pretty damn awful. I do think the Tyrone Green try, and I don't know what people were at the ground or whatever like that, I did think he was a yard and a half in front of Marcus Smith when the kick went up, but there you go. Those are the things that happen. And perhaps here's the time now to mention the elephant in the room and mention the refereeing, because
ding ding.
Ding ding, get seconds out. Look, I will say before I go into this that refereeing is a very difficult job to do. I have no problem with saying that. And it's a job that not many of us would want to do. And referees are allowed to have off days in the same way as Max Malins was allowed to have an off day, or whatever player has an off day. I felt the referee had an off day on the weekends. He made a number of errors that players had to tell him. The Bruno Wenger try, which, what a great name that is as well. We're talking about great names. Bruno Wenger, what a great name. But, the clear double movement that Owen Farrell saw and brought to his attention, but that the TMO had to bring to his attention, that was number 1. Number 2, the ball out the tunnel, and I know Duncan's going to talk about how the game flows and everything like that, and I do see that, but that was a clear and obvious mistake that should have been caught off by source. And I do think that when it was called back after Quins had scored the try, that he gave a penalty to Quins to make up for that. And whether that is true or not, that's just my perception of what happened there, because he penalised Marco Riccioni for something that he penalised Finn Baxter for doing 3 scrums previous. And there was a lack of consistency there. And the other one was the head hit on Owen Farrell that he never saw as anything other than just an accident when, the TMO's brought it to his attention, number one, that there was foul play. Number two, he's saying, look, Owen Farrell was a support player there. The player's head-on-head contact, that should have been a penalty. I'd agree if it had been a yellow card, it would have been harsh. But that should have been a penalty to Saracens. And, there's those little things that it didn't stop Quins winning the game, Duncan. I know you're going to say that. But when referees are professional, as they are, if they're making more mistakes becoming the conversation, then it's fair to highlight those issues and say, could that referee have done better? And I do think probably that the merry whistleblower will be looking at the videos today and going, do you know what, I could have done a bit better in that game. And, that's just the nature of it, isn't it?
I had a merry old time, I can tell you, with winding up all the Quins supporters around me after 22 pints of Guinness, because he was making loads of mistakes, but they were mistakes in our favour. And you could see them. And I was saying, I like this ref. And they were getting quite irked about it. But the main point is, well, I've got a few points to make. First, he is going to get reams and reams of feedback from the observers there, from the coaches, from all sorts of people who are going to feed back into his performance. And if he's deserves criticism, he's going to get reams of it. But for me, because it had zero effect on the outcome of that game, it's not something to really highlight. And I would, anybody's interested in refereeing in the game, I really would draw their attention to an interview that Jim Hamilton has done with Andrew Brace this week, where Andrew talks about something that Wayne Barnes highlighted when he retired, which is there was a big meeting between referees and the whole of the game. And the referees were basically saying, how do you want us to ref the game? We can be completely accurate, if you like, and make sure that we're accurate, or we can do our best to let the game flow. And that includes not penalising certain things. And I'm with the refs on this. I'm with the decision they made. Their ball in play time has gone from, under 30% to nearly over 40%. That had a massive impact from referees deciding not to be as accurate as they could be. They're all, Andrew Brace makes the point that they've got to get the big decisions right, and that includes the use of the TMO. I was just thinking over the summer, watching the Women's World Cup and then the beginning of this season, I don't think the game's ever been better. And a large part of it is down to the refs and the way that they're reffing. And as you started off saying, it's a bloody difficult job. And if they're going to ref it in a way that they're not going for 100% accuracy, then people are going to be whinging about it. It's not a big issue for me. If a howler decides a game, then fair enough, but it didn't.
Well, I will take issue with the fact that it had zero effect on the game. I think there was an effect on the game.
The outcome of the game.
But yeah, the outcome of the game. But I mean, it's just buts and maybes, isn't it? And it could have affected the game. I don't think it did because we weren't playing well enough, and we still had to catch the ball, as some of the free word reviews have pointed out. And I'm just going to bring up the free word reviews here now and say that one thing we're talking about is catch the ball. Surrey Rich said catch the ball. Rugby Saracens quite interesting. Saturday, Surrey's win trophies. Sunday, Quins better tactics. Surrey Sotis couldn't catch a cold, let alone the high ball, which is a little bit more than 3 words, but I mean, that shows you not an accuracy of the weekend. Disillusioned pensioner, stop aimlessly kicking. Well, yeah, I think that's true. Josh Miller, 1992, a catching practice needed. And then Gareth Richards, again, I think he's gone with 3 sentences as opposed to 3 words, but I said, absolutely shocking. All Quins did was put an up and under up, and we couldn't catch it. Shocking skills, that's basically it. Yeah, you're right, Duncan. If we'd been on our top game and those referee decisions had gone against us and we'd lost the game, I think we would have a lot more to be concerned about. The fact of the matter was the referee didn't have his best game, and our game was a lot worse. As you say, John, it's just difficult to be too harsh when a few things went against us, and it's a loss away at Quins. Well, teams will go to the Stoop and lose in the same way. Not a single team on Derby Weekend went away and won a game.
No.
So all the home matches were won. So it shows you the competitiveness of the league, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it does, and just kind of going on to the referees. I think I completely agree with to what Duncan is saying about we need to let the referees ref the game. We don't want it blowing up every 5 minutes, but I think the important thing is consistency.
Yeah.
They've got to be consistent how they manage the game. Some of the decisions yesterday at the breakdown I thought were a bit okay, and that peed me off a little bit. But let the games flow. But let's be clear about whether it's whoever it is refereeing it. Be consistent in their approach to it, because nothing is going to pee fans off more as if they're seeing a really good referee and a really bad referee. Just agree how they're going to do it, and if there are shortcomings in some of them, and I think there were some yesterday, then let's pick these up and move on. I wouldn't want to do it, I have to say.
The other thing I want to just take quick issue with on the referee, and from what Andrew Brace is saying there, is that I don't think the referees should be going to the players and the coaches and saying, how would you like us to referee the game? I think they should be making a decision and saying, because Nigel Owens would have done this, and Wayne Barnes did this, and they're the two best referees of the last 30 years, and say, this is the way we're refereeing the game. Deal with it. And if we turn around to you and say, we are going to let a few things go because we want the game to flow, that should come from the referees, not the players coming. And this is a kind of a problem I have. The last thing you want, I mean, I do feel a bit sorry for Marco Riccioni, because I don't think Marco knew from one scrum to the next what he was expected to do from the referee, and that's a problem. But if you've got the referee, if you've got players turning around and saying, this is what we want, then the referees are kind of letting the players and the coaches manage the game. Whereas, in fact, the referee should be coming out and saying, right, we've had a thing, we've had a listen, we're going to get the game flowing a bit more because that's what the spectators want. And in doing that, we might, let the odd things go. You play to that. And that would have been my preferred way of them coming out and doing it.
Well, we'll have to agree to disagree on that one, because I don't think it is, personally, I don't think it is for the referees to decide what the game is, and it's totally reasonable. And it wasn't just players and coaches, it was the whole of the game, globally, deciding how they want the game to be. And it is for the people who run the game to decide that. And the referees serve the game, not the other way around. But I'd like to say that, as far as I'm concerned, I thought the ref was fantastically consistent in his inconsistency for both sides.
Well, yeah, I mean, there is that. I mean, that comes out of...
No, it's just another way of saying, if you were a Quins fan, you'd be complaining about him as well. So, and that's why I don't think it was, the biggest issue in the game.
Personally, I think if the Quins fan had complained to me about how the referee did it for him, I would have laughed in their face, and I would probably have a plaster on their forehead like you had, Duncan. But let's move on to that one. What I did want to mention is something that came out of my conversation with Mark McCall when I sat down with Mark, and that Mark was very unhappy, I think is the best way of putting it, about the way that he couldn't have players back and in the team. And I think we paid for that because whereas and Quins did all right actually, but Quins lost a lot less players to internationals over the summer than we did. And Marcus Smith came back. Marcus Smith has got a fire to prove himself, and it's good to see that Marcus has taken that on, because I've always said that Marcus has got the ability to be one of the very best players in the world, but he's also got the ability to be Danny Cipriani 2.0, which is to have a level of entitlement. I'll just turn up and I should be in the side. Marcus has clearly lost his first choice position as England's 10. There's no way on earth that he should be England 15. At the moment, he's a bench player at best. And he said, no, that's not good enough for me. I want to be the best 10 in England. And, he's up against Finn Smith, who had a fine game for Northampton Saints the weekend. He's up against George Ford, who has had an absolutely amazing start to the season. And he came into that game and he sat his hand up in the air and said, fair enough, I'm going to go for it. But he was, I think, one of the only players whose Quins had to integrate back, whereas we were integrating back Jamie George, we were integrating back Ben Earl, we were integrating back Juan Martin Gonzalez, we integrated back in Lucas Cinti, who had to move into the centres. And Nick Tompkins going off was a big, big loss to us on Sunday in that game. We've had to integrate players, and they did appear to be a bit rusty. Now, whether that's down to personal integrity, which I don't think it is, because these are players who are highly committed, and I do think those players, particularly Ben Earl, really did put himself about on the game. But it's being match fit as opposed to practice fit. And I think we suffered a little bit there, Duncan.
This reinforces your point. The Quins only had one returning Lion in Marcus Smith. They had 4 returning Argentinians, battle-hardened Argentinians, because I think they were playing in the Championship, not much more than a week ago, weren't they?
In Twickenham.
And Lucio Cinti was right on it. You could tell he was.
The interesting thing there is it's not so much the being on it as a personal, as an individual player. It's being on it as member of a team and as of the squad. And I thought that our returning players just weren't quite up to the speed of the team as opposed to individual. And that's perhaps because we had to integrate more. And, the Quins thing of the Argentinians, they'd all been playing together anyway. So almost a third of your team, although they hadn't been playing in that team, and let's be honest about it, Quins the first 2 weeks have been pretty shocking. So that anybody was going to improve their team, but they've been playing as a unit anyway together. Whereas our players have been running through training drills and everything since coming back. They're not battle hardened. It was only JMG and Lucas Cinti of those players who've actually been playing. So, yeah, I think we lack something there, John.
What is it, 2 months ago? Since a lot of them would have last played. I was at the South Africa-Argentina game, and although Cinti didn't play, Gonzalez certainly played. Cinti played the week before, and so they are battle-hardened at the moment. Our guys are, they're up in their training in St Albans, but it's not the same as playing in a game. And I think if you saw the game the week before against Bristol, our whole game was much faster, much slicker.
And more pressure, wasn't it? Way more pressure, and that's what we lacked. I mean, Mark McCall said that the coaches had prepared the team badly. I think he was probably referring to the high ball. But he said it was very disappointing that the team didn't work out how to change it around. And, this game showed how much of Premiership rugby is about mentality.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was the difference. And a lot of that could have been the players coming back, especially the Lions players, haven't played for a long time and weren't up to speed in that respect.
Now, talking about mentality, a common theme through last season was reaction, where we had bad performances. And I'm not saying that this performance against Quins on the weekend was anywhere near as poor as some of the performances we saw last season. Quins at Tottenham, Falcons away, Castra, the 3 games that really spring to mind. But each time those mishaps happened last season, we saw a reaction. We've got Sale Sharks on the weekend. I've already alluded to the fact that they've got the form pony at 10 at the moment in George Ford, who is scintillatingly good. They're pretty much at full strength. They don't have particularly many injuries. They're always an exciting team. And in Alex Anderson, you've got an exceptionally good coach who knows Saracens pretty well as well. So a home match against Sale, an evening kickoff on Saturday evening. Are we going to see players who've had that game time now, that they're going to be more attuned to it? And what are we going to see from Saracens? I mean, I'm definitely hoping that we go back to that performance we saw against Bristol, where we just come out of the traps and obliterate all hope of an upset. Well, I say an upset because it's not an upset, is it? But, home wins are seemingly happening at the moment, unless you're Gloucester or Falcons going away anywhere. We really do need to see a reaction, don't we, John?
I think we will. I'll be there. And I expect to see a reaction, a positive one.
The problem is, Duncan, isn't it? And I mean, I know this from myself, from coaching, is that you go in with a game plan that you think is going to win a game. Because you wouldn't go into the game with anything other than a game plan you think is going to win the game. And in the first 2 matches, that game plan, which has been built on extremely quick ruck ball, players being accurate at speed, and it's worked a treat. And against Sale, I expect us to do that again, because you're at home. You've got 10,000 Saracen supporters behind you. You should be able to do that, shouldn't you? And that should be what we expect on Saturday, won't it?
I think it could be brutal. I mean, Sale are a physical side, and as you say, they've got somebody who can put up a great bomb. We've got, I mean, that Owen Farrell free kick, by the way, the minute he kicked it, I knew nobody was going to catch it. So we can do it as well. I think it's going to be a really physical game.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And I mean, and I think, again, this is something that we really do need to celebrate, is the physicality of it, the brutality of it, as Jim Hamilton's been saying, as other players have been saying. It's got to be brutal within the laws. Mm-hmm. It's got to be brutal within the correct levels of safety and whatever. But the hits, the explosions, the collisions, they're going to be absolutely brutal. I mean, I don't know whether I'm going to be able to see the game too much because I might well be in bed waiting to run a marathon the next day. I don't know if I've mentioned that. It will be very impressive. It's the old Jack Berger adage, isn't it? It's time to go to work, and the boys need to go to work this week. I know, sure.
Mauro's going to be back. Is he going to be undercooked?
Well, this is an interesting one, isn't it? Because, I mean, he's coming back from a concussion protocol. I think, knowing Mauro, that Mauro doesn't do undercooked.
No, he doesn't.
He's one player. It's the same. It's the same as Owen Farrell. That he's got something special about him. And I think Marcus Smith showed that as well, that he's got that something special about him, that he doesn't do undercooked. Marcus will have games where he's absolutely awful because that's what happens with mercurial-type players. But Finn Russell has come back and slipped into Bath and, has been not undercooked because he is such a quality player. And I think when you have real quality, top notch, when you're one of the best players in the world, as Mauro tells you, is, as Finn Russell is, as Owen Farrell is, you don't do undercooked. Other players might, if they're that 1-2% behind, might have an excuse to be slightly undercooked. But no, Mauro will be fine. Whatever he comes in and does, Mauro will be absolutely fine.
I think he will.
Well, that's plenty to look forward to, guys. I mean, we could discuss this. Me and Duncan can have another argument off air if we like about referees and everything like that, As I've always said, Duncan, when I played, referees only ever penalised me because they knew I was right. And
I tell you what, the next three, we'd better get back up to speed. We've got Sale, Saints and Bath.
Yeah.
Well, that's an easy run, isn't it? And unfortunately, Bath are doing a very good impersonation of league winners at the moment.
Yeah.
They've beaten Sale. Nobody looks like they're coming near to them. So let's hope we can get back up to speed and upset the apple cart.
Yeah, well, let's look forward to that on the weekend. As I say, I won't be here next Monday. One of the other guys will be in the hot seat. And I will be with my feet up in a bowl of water or whatever and in a foot spa, hopefully after completing the York Marathon on Sunday. And thank you, everybody.
He's gone. He's gone.
Have I gone? I'm still here,
yeah. Zoom thought you were about to talk about refs again.
No, I'm just going to say that my fundraising is still there, and you can sponsor me if you want at justgiving.com/fundraising/Jez-Denson. But other than that, we'll speak to you next week on the Fezcast, whoever's in the hot seat and on the panel, hopefully looking back at a fine win and a get back on the horse against Sale.
Good luck for next weekend, Jez. Great call.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you.
This is the